when in your life, as you look back, is there a moment where you're able to say, that's the moment where the faith became mine, rather than the faith of my parents or the faith that I was raised in? This moment, like the faith became mine?
It's interesting, I think, people's testimonials around that question. I remember being, I've always struggled with my weight. So as a heavy sixth grader, 125 pounds, and what was I, 4'10"? It's pretty, what do they say, too short for my weight. And my sister was going off to a eighth grade, school trip. She's like, I'm going to bring you a gift home. And I thought, what a cool sister. She's going to bring a gift home. And so what she brought home was a magnet that said, fat is where it's at. Devastated me, Matthew. I just went up to my room and just cried, looked at the mirror, poor pity me. I'm looking at myself in the mirror, just going, oh, she's right. And from then on, I really started to read the Bible. I don't know what happened. It was just every night I would just pick up this little Bible that my brother, I think, had given me. And I would just read it and read it and read it and read it. And I just thought, God, you need to show me that my body is your temple. I need to take better care of my body. And through that summer, it was transitional. I mean, I started exercising. I started eating, instead of a Big Mac and the supersized fries and the shake, I just ate a Happy Meal. I just changed my habits. But it was my relationship that I was building with God that made me take better care of myself. So that's where I remember the shift happening. It's like, I've got to own this, and God's here to help me. He's a merciful God, so I'm gonna count on him.
So then you've had this incredible life, this incredible career in business, and have there been times where you were less interested in faith, or distracted from your faith, or neglected your faith?
I wouldn't say less interested, but distracted, I think, is a good word to describe it. Getting busy, being busy. Again, another phrase I think I've stolen from you is having that. You called it the something of urgency. I miss it. It'll come to me. Tyranny of the urgent.
Yeah.
And just things that just were not urgent, making them urgent because I had such a list of things to get done as the CEO of the company that I started forgetting the things that were most important, like going to mass. And so I began to go to daily mass once a week. I would go to the mass that my children attended. They went to Catholic schools, and so I started going to that mass. And I thought, wow, what a difference this makes in the middle of my week on Wednesday morning to go to daily mass. So I got pulled back in, thankfully. And my kids were teaching me prayers I didn't even know. So to Catholic school, I did not go to a Catholic school. My parents couldn't afford to send us to Catholic school. So all six of us, none of us went. So my kids are coming home and teaching me prayers that I had never learned. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, I really have to get back into my faith life. And then going through some challenging times as the CEO of the company brought me closer to my faith too, because I just realized the best place to go for help is to God. And every time I've done that, it's always worked.
So if you run into a friend or someone comes to you and they're struggling in their life and they've stepped away from their faith, is there a way you encourage them to re-engage, or a step you encourage them to take?
Well, now I'm at the point where I'm okay praying out loud with a friend. For years I wouldn't do that. We wouldn't pray at meals in restaurants. So today I'm very, very much more comfortable with that. So first ask if I can pray for them, and then I would invite them, to join me, whether it's on a retreat or even just sponsoring them. Maybe there's somebody who is financially troubled and they can't afford to go to a retreat. Giving them books. I have found that Dynamic Catholics books have just been an incredible resource for my friends, regardless of their denomination. They've been a real gift, and I can always seem to find the right book at the right time, as long as they'll go back and read it.
And do they read it?
Many of them do, and they come back to me, and they give me the feedback on how it helped them.
Yeah.
And some of them don't at the time that I give it, right? Sometimes it's years later that they read it.
Absolutely.
And that's okay.
Yeah. When you think about, your life as a Catholic, do you have favorite Catholic moments in your life?
Oh, probably one of my two most favorite. I never was really around somebody who would just talk about giving God the glory. That was just not a term I was familiar with. And my mother was very devout, but it wasn't a term that we used around our house. And I remember this small lady who ran our choir for the children at school. And she just did such a beautiful job. We've never had such a beautiful choir because she loved the Lord so much. You could tell in her singing. And so she brought the children into that love. And so one day I just said, thank you so much for, your beautiful gift of singing. And she said, God gets all the credit. And that was just a real transitional time in my life. I probably was early in my stage of being the CEO of the company. And I thought, giving God the credit. Wow. Never really thought about it that way. So that was an eye opener for me. And then another time was on my undercover boss experience. Wow, getting CBS to agree to, letting me go to church, and then them wanting to follow me into church and coming home from that journey. Maybe we'll talk about that in a bit. But at the end of that undercover boss journey, they said, we'd like for you to be able to come back to church if you'd like. I'm like, what do you mean if I'd like? Yes, I want to. But the overwhelming sense of being home when I walked into the church after being on the road for 10 days filming this particular episode was just overwhelming. The love I felt walking back into the church and just giving God the glory for allowing me to lead such an organization with so many people's lives at stake,
Yeah.
under my leadership. It just was a real transitional moment for me.